Shalom. Welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, together with my co-host Mark Rohner, to statewide news service, jbiztechphilly.com, and now columnist for the Jewish Press.
Well, and thank you, Rabbi. I have a new column in the Jewish Press called Albany Beat, and I talk about how government relates to the Jewish community, or doesn't, as the case may be, so it's very interesting. So we have a very special guest with us, a repeat guest with us today. He's been on the show twice before. It's a three-peat, and it's Tim Nichols, the Albany County Legislator from Latham. So welcome back to the show.
Good to be back.
You know, and it's been too long since your last...
That's true. It's true.
So you've been very busy.
Yes.
Including you've changed jobs a little bit.
That's true.
You used to work in the Assembly, and now you're working for the Public Employees Federation.
That's right.
Okay. Do you want to expand more
yes.
on
Well,
that?
in October, as you know, I don't know if I...
You were Chief of Staff.
The last time I was here, I was working for Assemblywoman Rhoda Jacobs, who retired last year. So...
Do they have crossover in the Assembly? Yeah, I'm just saying that. I mean, there's so many, Mark's always here, he's our reporter, but there's so much turnover in the Assembly, whether voluntary or maybe forced out, but people keep their staff. I was always wondering that. And for the most part, hey, you're a good guy, and you know, and someone retired like Rhoda Jacobs, who we know very well, and saying, hey, the next person saying, you're doing well, why do I need a new person?
Well, sometimes staff will stay, will go on to the new person. The difference is, though, Rhoda was a very senior member. She was the assistant speaker. She had a lot of resources for her staff. Rhoda always put most of her staff, and I think a lot of people in New York City do, put their staff resources into their district offices, and because that's where the need is.
The constituent services. Right.
And she had a very active constituent service office. So because of that, when you're a new member and you come in, you don't really have a lot of money for staff. So a lot of people like me who've sort of maxed out, you have to really look either outside or find a more senior member to work for. And this opportunity with the Public Employees Federation came along, and I decided to accept it and go there.
And that's the second largest state employee union.
Yes.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about because now you're not with the Assembly.
Right.
What was Rhoda Jacobs' total budget that the Assembly allocated for her?
I honestly do not know. You mean what her staff budget was?
The whole kit and caboodle of whatever she could
I don't know. I really don't know.
Who really knows what the...
That's all public record. I mean, you can find that out. But
I could, but I'm asking,
who
knows? Is it only the Assembly, because you were Chief of Staff?
I wasn't, actually, I was not Chief of Staff. I was the Legislative Director. I was Chief of Staff for Bob Riley. I've been Chief of Staff in the past for Rhoda, but that was 20 years ago.
Okay, so as Chief of Staff for Bob Riley, what was his, wouldn't you know?
Well, when he first came on
as a freshman,
and it was a $70,000 budget for staff. So,
no, but there's other parts of you get money allocated for other things other than
you get
staff.
allocations for office space. So Bob had a district office in Clifton Park, so that paid for the rent and the computers and things like that. And he was also had money that didn't fall into his budget, but came from central communication staff, so we were sort of assigned someone.
Right.
And so you could, the person was in Bob's office, so you could say, well, that's Bob's budget, but it really wasn't. And that was, but that was about $25,000. It wasn't a full-time, $80,000 a year position or whatever. And then every year or a couple of years, you get a little bit more. And sometimes, if you're in a marginal district like Bob was, a Democrat in a Republican district, they'll give you a little bit more. So I think by the time Bob left, it was probably about 150 or something like that, maybe.
And when he started, it was 70.
Yeah. But he was there for almost 8 years.
Yeah.
10
but
years.
So it doubled in 8 years.
If I'm including the communication person, if you take that out,
you have to include that, and you have to include the district office.
I think so.
And you have to include everything that's an expense.
Well, I'm not including the expenses. I don't know what the district office cost, what the rent was. I did not do that. Was not part of my job.
Okay. Because chief of staff, you should have
Well,
everything.
no,
as
I mean,
part
I was mostly dealing with legislation
Okay.
and people coming in to visit and constituent issues and managing the staff.
Okay,
The budget
so-
and the money, that was handled by Bob.
by the
You know,
assembly.
yeah. A lot of the assembly people kind of keep tabs on that.
Close to the vest,
Yeah.
they keep it. Yeah.
And you know, we know we can go and look if we want, but why create problems? I mean, you know, if I want a raise, can I get some, you know, a raise, and it's either yes or no, and you know, it's just the way it is.
So where do you look?
I think you would have to foil. You could
You're the
foil.
reporter,
or,
Mark,
you know,
over here.
I know.
Are you
I'm asking.
looking-
I'm asking him. I know the
I
answer, but
think
I'm
the
asking him.
controller puts that. I know the assembly puts that. Every few months we'd get a memo saying that we're going to release the information about staff, about your office's budget and how much money is spent on mail and all that stuff. So the assembly calculates it and then they put it out. It may even be on the website now. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't.
No, thank you for that insight.
Yep.
That now that you're not working in the state government, I can ask you these questions because
Yeah.
these are sensitive questions.
Sure.
That someone who's on staff might feel a little
Right.
awkward about
Right.
talking about.
No,
So.
Mark, going to the present, you know, like, I'm a rabbi. Well, just
Yes.
saying with the union.
Where were
The
we?
question when oh, you were in the past. It was
We
a
were.
previous job. And now to the present. I'm a rabbi. I'm not unionized. Maybe I should over here. But you know,
The
I always
OU.
hear.
Union of Orthodox Rabbis.
There you go.
You're in
Yeah.
a
You
union.
have a
Go on
card?
strike over here. No. And I guess government.
Don't strike.
Yeah.
We need you.
You know, again, that's what I'm saying. Coming in, I'm a rabbi, but I'm a layman also. You hear all different kinds of unions, just going the most basic ideas. You know, there are different union
Mm-hmm.
groups, you know, which ones you represent, which kind of workers. The workers
Well-
have a choice to go which other
They don't have a
union.
choice.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions there. I mean, basically, you have public employees unions, which is what the Public Employees Federation is.
That's what you're with.
That's
Right.
who I'm with, PEF, Public Employees Federation. And then you have CSEA,
Civil
Civil
Service
Service
and-
Employees Association.
Aren't they the same though?
No,
They're
two
different.
In fact, CSEA is more blue collar and PEF is more white collar.
professional
workers.
scientific-
But you're wearing a blue collar, so.
I know.
You should be.
Hey, there are some. Well,
Okay,
anyway.
I'm just, it's just a joke.
So
Let it go.
CSEA,
Yeah.
and then you have your teachers union, New York State United Teachers,
right.
and public employees as well.
UUP.
And UUP is United University Professionals or
Professionals,
professors, right? And so those are your public sector
Then you
groups.
have nurses.
Then you have nurses, but nurses are separate. They're
Union,
private, mostly private. We have nurses on who are PEF employees. They're state employees, but they're registered nurses and they work for agencies. So, you know, basically it's all about collective bargaining. It's a group of people saying we want to be represented together. We want to have a contract that has all the same ingredients and benefits and rights and everything that goes with that into a contract with their employer. And we are actually, PEF is in the middle. I shouldn't say in the middle, we just started contract negotiations for a new contract because our contract expired on April 1st.
With the state.
With the state.
Now, which agency? Is it Governor's Office of Employee Relations?
Yes, Governor's Office of Employee Relations negotiates with what we have as a contract team. And there's a whole group of people,
You could
PEF
go
members
without.
who
You
go.
always hear these like police union. Well, it's
Yeah,
3
well,
years.
I'm
they're
sorry,
going
there's police
without
unions, that's right,
They're
Council
going
82.
with 3 years and
various-
they don't have a contract. So you could.
True.
This could be.
Yes.
And you're not allowed to strike.
In New York State, right, in New York State, the public employees have what they call a tri-borough amendment, which means that the current contract is in place until the new contract is established.
So you do have in a way a contract.
So
It's not like
we
you're
have an
without.
existing contract, and many times, because they take a long time to negotiate, once the contract is resolved, then they retroactively pay.
get a
So if you get any
3%.
pay increase from April 1st, 2015, and it takes a year to get a contract, then you get a year's worth of pay increases.
Well,
So-
I could tell you that, you know, the PEF employees are extremely upset because they didn't get a raise for 3 years.
Right, right.
I mean, so there was nothing to be retroactive.
That's right.
What,
in this
new
last
I
contract.
mean?
It was a
Well, the-
5-year contract or a 4-year?
I think it was a 4-year contract.
4-year contract, and it was the first 3 years was nothing, and the last year, which they're in now, is a 2%.
I don't know.
It's a 2% increase.
So they didn't get anything retroactively because there was
They,
nothing
right,
there.
exactly. So they, so while while the workers' utility bills are going up and phone bills and all the other bills are increasing, their pay isn't. So the only way they can get an increase is to be promoted. So, and then there's this whole thing about commissioners making less money than their
Right.
deputies.
Right.
And, there's...
Because the
Well,
commissioners
there-
are not unionized.
There are MC employees who
Management
are
Confidential.
Management Confidential who are political appointees or senior level employees that have not had a raise either in a long time, and they just established a pay raise commission or whatever in the budget, and they might be getting a pay raise, but it's been a long time. I mean, the bottom line is that this governor has not been very friendly to public employees. I think that's most people would agree with that. Hopefully that changes. We'll see. And so far, my understanding is I'm not involved in any of the contract talks, but so far it sounds like it's going pretty well. So we'll see how it goes.
So when you have this dichotomy you have a competition, I should say, of CSEA and PEF and UUP, you got off it used to be CSEA came in first, whatever their contract is what PEF was based on, and all the other unions were based on that contract. But PEF did something different last time, in that you don't know. Okay, in that
I don't know.
They're off
That's
cycle.
before my time.
They're
But we are off cycle.
So now I think CSEA had a 5-year contract agreement, and PEF has a 4-year contract agreement. So PEF goes into the cycle earlier, and they don't have
They're
to
the
abide.
lead, you mean?
Yeah, they become the lead. So it's one of those things, but that's something inside baseball maybe for a lot of people, but I like that. So let's talk about your county legislative position, okay? Because I think that's why we really brought you here.
Okay, that works.
That works, get me off this thing. It's like, okay.
Well, it's interesting to find out about government, Mark.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm not saying... I'm just reading Tim's mind, and his eyes are saying,
Let's talk about
"Get me off this."
It's okay, it's fine.
You are on 3 committees in the
Yes.
county, Audit and Finance, Health, and Social Services.
Right, and the Charter Reform Committee and
Charter
the
Reform.
Redistricting Committee, which is no longer a committee, but
Okay. So what do you make of, what's going on with Audit and Finance? I mean, things going well with the county? I mean,
yeah, I mean, we're not at the budget point yet. We'll get to that toward the end of the year. Usually in October, November is when we start dealing with the budget. So we're sort of mid-year with that, and
well, are we on track to what?
yeah, we're on track. I mean, look, the good news is the economy is coming around and revenue is coming in. We are doing really well with the nursing home, as I said we would if we had the right management in place. We really we really have an excellent administrator out there who knows how to run a nursing home, knows how to get the revenue in, because he's billing, he's making sure all the bills are being paid.
So there are no late fees and
No late fees, but
excess
also
charges.
what was happening is we were not billing payers.
Right,
We were actually missing lots of money because we just weren't billing for that
Right.
money.
If you don't ask, you don't get.
That's right.
So
So he's
people-
doing that, and he talk about labor unions, and the 2 labor unions out there, 1199 and NISA.
Now, SCIU,
SCIU,
1199U,
right.
is the Service Employees International Union.
Correct.
And what's the other one?
NISA.
New York State United Teachers.
Right, and they represent nurses at the county nursing home.
Now, why?
It's like steelworkers representing us. I'm not sure how that
But
happened.
New York State
but
Nurses Association, right?
I know.
If everything worked well in the
teachers
state.
represent nurses in a lot of different places, so they've expanded. But in any case, they both do a good job. They both went to the bargaining table with our new administrator at the nursing home,
Larry Slatke,
and they have agreed to, basically change the contract, give the county give-backs, if you will, and help the nursing home reach its goals financially. So that, coupled with Larry's leadership and his ability to bring in revenue and to just really get it organized, fill the beds. We had so many empty beds. When you have an empty bed, you still have the fixed cost, but you have no revenue coming in for that. So that's going to save like $7 million. And that is huge. So that's a big win.
Tim, can I ask you even a naive
Yeah.
question? So you say, because Mark and I have so many, I think we have every Albany County legislator here, and officials. Right. So we're always talking like, well, you just said saving millions of dollars, but then it doesn't come out to taxes. You think, oh, $7 million, that's, you say in Yiddish, gefunden Geld, found money over here. Wow, $7 million, you just saved it. We should be rich over here.
Well, you're right. Here's where we might see it. We have to abide by a 2% property tax cap. So about 3 or 4 years ago, we had to exceed that. We could not make the budget work. The revenue was not coming in. We did not have Larry there. We were not filling the beds. And so we voted as a legislature to exceed the 2% tax cap so that we could make our county government whole. That's how we raised the money to take care of this. Since the economy has improved and the revenue has started to come in, and we kept our spending intact, I mean not intact, but low, I should say, we were able to live within the 2% tax cap. So even though we're living within the 2% tax cap, with revenue coming in, now it gives us room to stay below that. If we don't use any of the $7 million for spending in other places, then you could see a tax cut. But I don't see that happening for a lot of reasons. One is that we are not even close to being up to par in a lot of other agencies. I just have an email in my email box right now.
What do you mean by other agencies?
Agencies like the Social Services Department, the Children, Youth, and Families Department.
So when you say we're not up to par, what is that?
The county is not. The county as a whole, we run the nursing home, the jail, all these agencies. So the $7 million that we're saving over here could be used over here in the Social Services Department to bring in the caseworkers, so we don't have a caseworker trying to take care of 50 kids that are at risk of abuse and neglect.
Or upgrade the computer system.
We can, right. A lot of those things have been neglected because we didn't have the revenue. Right.
Now we can take
we
care
have
of
all
the
these
problems.
vacancies that we haven't filled because we didn't have the money.
Right.
So it'd be great to be able to look, if the state ever said we're going to pay for Medicaid, which is the mother of all unfunded mandates in New York State by far, which falls to the counties, not the towns, cities, or villages. The county government could get rid of the property tax cap, the property tax period, and the cap, because we wouldn't have a property tax. So that day probably won't happen ever. It might though, and if it ever does, though, we wouldn't have to have property taxes, and you would see a lot of savings.
What is the county budget right now? How much?
I think it's about $600 million.
Okay.
That's including federal money and everything.
How much of the $600 million, when the county executive proposes the budget, and the county legislature disposes the budget, how much of that is tweaked and how much of that is really changed? Because on the state level, as you know, it's like 99% of what the governor proposes goes through.
I would say it's probably a little less than that, but close, because most of our budget is mandates. We have to pay Medicaid. That's the biggest chunk of our budget. We have to pay for early intervention, preschool special education. We have to spend money on the public assistance programs, food stamps, HEAP, all of these mandates that come in sometimes through the federal government, but many times through the state government. And so all of that money is a part of our budget. It's all in the budget, and we have to spend it and figure out how to spend it. And many of the jobs that we have in the budget are directly related to dealing with these mandates. So we don't really go in and start slashing jobs or programs because we can't. We are legally obligated to deliver these services or pay for these programs. And I mean, we can say instead of having 10 people do the program, we're only going to have 5 people. But even then, sometimes there are issues related to
But
that.
aren't there smarter ways to deal with government in terms of maybe having fewer agencies and merging departments and?
I think there are, we've done a lot of that. We've taken the youth department and merged it with, I think it was the Children, Youth and Families budget. We're doing the charter right now. I would like to see the Children, Youth and Families department be eliminated. Now that sounds like, what the heck are you talking about? You must be crazy. Well,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not
like
talking.
mother and apple pie. I
Right.
mean,
Well,
children.
here's the difference. That agency, there's only one other county in New York State that has that department,
Kudos to them.
and that's Onondaga County.
Okay.
Every county provides the same exact services that agency provides.
In where? In what
Social services, mental health, and health. So what Breslin did in the 90s when
Michael Breslin.
Mike
'Cause
Breslin.
we gotta
That's right,
figure this
former
out.
county executive. When money was coming in like crazy because it was the go-go 90s,
Yeah.
he created this new agency and took all the children's programs out of the other agencies and stuck them into this one agency, created a new commissioner and a new management staff. Well, there's no evidence at all to say that is a better way to provide these services.
Except that he gave a friend of his a job.
It could
and
be.
he got- yeah.
I'm not going to go there, but that could be the case. So what I'm saying is take the social services programs that are in that department, put them back to social services. Take the health programs like early intervention, which is kids with developmental delays,
Right.
and special education, put them in the health department where they belong, because it's the state health department that oversees that program, not the children and families department at the state level. And the mental health services for kids should go back to the mental health department where the experts in the mental health field work. And that's all and then you don't need a new agency. But saying what I said creates concern and worry that we're going to do something different, and the fact is all we're really doing is putting the
Going
pieces back to where they were, and not having, and I said if we take just the mental health and the health programs and put them back, then essentially the county has 2 social services departments. And we just don't need that. Right. So to me, that would be a way to save money and create efficiencies without hurting, in fact, making the programs better because they're where they belong, where the experts are. But that's probably not going to happen.
Were you there in the go-go 90s or no?
I got there when Clinton won, and then right when all the fun started, I lost.
Yeah.
So I missed the go-go 90s. I came in for a couple of years, and then...
So you didn't have a chance to express your views on that?
No, I don't know what I would have
department.
done back then. I may have
That's what I
supported
was
something like that,
wondering about. Okay.
But in retrospect, when we were looking for ways to save money, to me, that would be one way to go.
Now, have you taken the tour of the county nursing home facility?
I haven't been there in a while.
Because, you made a promise to me.
I know,
on the
we
last
have to
show.
do
We
that.
haven't
You know
done
what?
that yet.
There's going to be a picnic coming up. We should do that for the
Okay.
picnic. We can do that.
All right, when is it?
Hold me to it.
Okay,
I think it's like June 15th or something, or
Okay.
12th or whatever.
good, we can do that. Now, one of your big issues since you were here last had to do with tobacco-free pharmacy.
Right.
Talk about that, because I know you can, but we only have, you could do that for a whole half hour, but
No,
let's not.
well, here's what happened. It passed the legislature, 21 or 22 votes,
2117.
21-17.
Lord,
and there was one person who said he would vote for it if he was there, and he wasn't there. So it passed the legislature. We had 30 days to convince the county executive to sign it.
Right.
He called a public hearing to hear from the public on the legislation, and then he skipped the public hearing. And a few days later, he vetoed.
What do you mean he skipped it?
He didn't go to his own public hearing.
Who came? Who went?
Well, Tom Marcel
Okay,
and
his staff people.
his staff people. So, but he himself didn't go. And
He was told about it.
he didn't. He did not. You know, it bothers me.
He's playing politics,
a
isn't it?
great deal.
It's playing
but
politics.
he's playing politics to the tune of $10,000 from the tobacco industry, and that's I revealed that last March.
Yeah.
On, I think it was Kick Butts Day, which is a national holiday for the tobacco control community. And they do advocacy events around the country to raise awareness about the tobacco industry and how they're trying to get kids to smoke. It's from the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. And so I did some investigations, and it's all public record, and I started to connect the dots and made the charge. And asked him to return the money, which to this day I don't think he has.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it was, you know, you can have a difference of opinion on this stuff, and I respect that. But when there's that much money floating around, I have to wonder.
But they only
what the
gave him
motivation was.
10,000.
That's all that I could find.
That's all you could find.
And you know, that was.
Because that's a small. That's a
You
mere
don't know.
pittance
You
with
don't.
the tobacco
he-
industry.
He's had. I know. Well, listen. In a county executive campaign account, that's a lot. So,
What do you think it costs to run a county executive race? If you have an opponent, I mean.
yeah. Well, obviously, it can cost a lot of money depending on how you use it. But,
Okay.
you know, if it's $100,000, 10% of your budget comes from the tobacco industry. I said in my news release that there was a time not too long ago when it was taboo to take money from the tobacco industry. Now they take it from everybody.
And you used to work for the American Lung Association
Yes.
of Northeastern New York or whatever.
New York State, yeah.
New York State. So, you know, this is near and dear to your heart,
Right.
so to speak.
It is.
And
And
you
my
don't.
lungs.
And for the record, you don't smoke, right?
I don't. Thankfully, I don't.
Okay.
Thankfully,
Just for the record, I mean, you know, you
I,
see these doctors standing outside Albany Med, you know, across the street and smoking.
No,
and,
I mean
you know,
it's a very difficult. You know, it's an addiction.
You know, so have you? So is that your biggest? Was that your biggest issue recently? Was this? And what happened? Did you override the?
We tried to
county executive's
override it,
veto,
but when it was clear, you know, I wasn't going to push the vote on the override, but the advocates really wanted me to at least try, so we did. And then when it was clear that it wasn't going to,
And you need
be
24 votes for an override.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of the people who voted for the original legislation did not want to vote for the override.
Oh wow.
Especially when they realized it wasn't going to pass.
So that's weak spines.
Yeah.
Wow.
So to me, it was just, you know, it is what it is. And
Well,
I'm
what
not
happens
gonna,
now? I mean,
well,
that was.
I have a bill which is coming up next week to ban the use of electronic cigarettes in public places, just like the Clean Indoor Air law. So it'll treat e-cigarettes the same way as tobacco.
But that's just a vapor, right?
Well, there are two.
There's no nicotine or.
There's nicotine in some of the e-cigarettes, yes. And the problem is that we don't know yet what is in there. And the FDA is going to hopefully soon start looking into regulating this. The other issue is the social acceptability of the idea of smoking. Smoking itself, making it cool and hip again. If you look at the way they're marketing e-cigarettes, it's the same exact way the tobacco industry marketed tobacco cigarettes back in the day. And that's worrisome because kids are very susceptible to that. They think it's cool and hip, and it becomes a trend. It's becoming a trend right now, and we know nothing about its effects.
Okay.
And we need to
Let me
get
ask you just
ahead of it.
quickly, if I could, about the oil trains.
Yes.
You have any opinion about these oil trains? And
I
they call them-
support all the efforts
What?
look, I think the feds have to do a better job regulating it. It really is a federal issue. It's always been a federal issue because of interstate commerce. So the feds have to, and they put out some regs, but they didn't apply them to Albany or something. So I think that, you know, our good Senator Schumer and Gillibrand, they have to, you know, I know they're working hard to control this. The problem is that, like the e-cigarettes, it's expanded exponentially. I can't say the word, but it's expanded rapidly all around the country. One solution, some people say, is the Keystone Pipeline, then there wouldn't be the trains. I'm not a fan of the Keystone Pipeline. I think we have to go the other way with renewable energy and whatnot. But it starts with the regs. Slow the trains down, you know, and make sure the trains are safer, more safely built.
My solution to it is, that I've been advocating, is to build 2 walls, fireproof walls, as high as you want. Make them look nice, like noise barriers on the highways, and put them there so if the train derails or something happens with a spill, it's contained within those walls. And the train can't tip too far because the wall will catch the train, and it'll be contained more. And let the federal government spend money on that, billions of dollars, which they have, and let them build that. And then, you know, you can have a nice wall. You can have some graffiti artists make it even nicer. Artists, I call them artists, you know.
Some of them are.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what the feasibility of that is, but it's as good of a it should be considered like any potential solution.
All right, now you can come back again.
I can. Okay. We didn't even talk about the town of Colony or anything. Gosh.
What's going on in the town of Colony?
The motel. Oh, forget it.
Oh no, we don't care. That's fine.
You have to just thank you for coming for the 3rd time. So now we have more issues that we have to call you back in for a 4th time, but continue the good work you're doing for the people of Albany County and do it with good health.
Yes, much success.
Appreciate it.